1 in 5 individuals in Africa are undernourished.
True, by 2030, 1 in every 4 young people will be African.
Nutrition is actually investable. You can get SMEs that have a financial return, but also have a very huge nutrition impact.
Do you have a success story of maybe a business that you guys have worked with?
Yeah.
And how has that business impacted the community? And do you think zero hunger is still achievable by 2030?
Women eat least and last.
Oh.
Even in a household, you see a mom, for example, you have a chicken that is cooked and there are not enough pieces. Of course, she'll give
the
mostly
sacrifice.
To, we are not saying you just remove renewable energy from your portfolio and look at just nutrition. But then we are seeing even investments that have very huge environmental impact. They also have a nutrition impact.
What would you say is the current state of nutrition across the continent? Thank you for joining us on yet another episode at the African Checkbook. I'm your host, Linda Keraithe. We often get excited at the projections that Africa is the fastest growing continent in the world. And more so, we take pride in the fact that Africa, by 2030, will have the youngest population, where 1 in every 4 young people globally will be African. However, there are many underlying threats and challenges that threaten the potential of our people. One of these is the crisis of hunger, starvation, and malnutrition. Nutrition isn't just about food. It is about health, dignity, and development. In part 1 of this episode, we'll unpack the state of nutrition across the African continent, the opportunities that lie for founders and entrepreneurs playing in this space, and the partnerships and how capital can flow to better and improve food systems in Africa. My guest today is Polly Mwongera, who works for Global Alliance for Food and Nutrition. Thank you for joining us today, Polly. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
Karibu. So, Polly, as we start, maybe you could tell us about what you do at GAIN and how this organization is scaling and helping address the food systems challenges in Africa.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. So, hello, viewers, listeners. My name is Polly Mwongera. As Linda's mentioned, I have been mostly in the impact investing space, right now working with a nutrition-focused organization. So, GAIN, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, is a Swiss-based foundation. Started way back in 2002, and work with GAIN has mainly revolved around ending malnutrition. So it's a big objective, and the objective is actually more targeted to the lower income population, because these are the ones that are at the risk of malnutrition. So the objective of GAIN since 2022 to date has been to carry out several programs, initiatives that work in several global south countries targeted at underserved populations to help them alleviate the impact of malnutrition. So we are present in 8 African countries, 4 in the Asia and Southeast Asia, and then there are representative offices in the North, London, US, and headquartered in Geneva. Yeah.
Thank you, Polly.
I did mention what I do at GAIN, but happy to get more into that as we talk about the SME space.
Yeah, maybe you can also explain to us on your work at GAIN, and maybe you could also be very specific onto, in terms of helping or the issue of malnutrition or alleviating malnutrition. Is it funding that you provide? Is it training? Exactly how are you involved in this ecosystem?
Okay, thank you, Linda. So there are several initiatives. I'll start with the first one, which is where GAIN is mostly, I think, recognized in most countries. It's policy. So policy work is working with governments in these countries where we have offices established in, to be able to set up a regulatory environment and to support in technical capacity, even for the government to be able to support SMEs, the civil society in nutrition aspects. Then there's the work around SMEs and the private sector. So that is where we directly work with the enterprises through funding and technical assistance to enable them produce more nutritious, healthier diets that reach lower-income consumers. And that there's a knowledge building bit where you see a lot of reports, research-based findings that have been released, mainly to inform, but also to awaken. As you are saying, there isn't much talk about what the level that we are currently at. So again, there's a lot of that to know where are we at currently, what more can we do. So there's a lot of information and studies that have been done, mainly to build the knowledge out there, but also to influence other actors to come into the space. Yeah. So in different countries, there are different programs. For example, in Kenya, you will hear we have a program about access of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's a program called Veg for All that is being run in Nairobi and counties surrounding Nairobi to ensure fresh fruit and vegetables reach all consumers, because the consumption is not at the level that it should be at. You'll hear about school feeding programs, mostly supporting with policy work. You'll hear about our work with the county governments, enabling them to develop action plans about nutrition. You'll hear our work about SMEs, which is where I work in. So my role is a project manager and a fund that supports SMEs directly, funding growth stage SMEs to be able to deliver nutritious foods to local consumers.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very comprehensive work.
Yeah.
And we are happy to know that GAIN is really putting so much effort and work into food systems across the continent.
Yeah.
And so now that we've grounded our listeners, Polly, I'd like us to take a wider lens and look at sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
What would you say is the current state of nutrition across the continent?
I'll say it's a grim picture. When you talk about malnutrition, we're looking at the three broader aspects. There's undernutrition, where you're talking mostly about wasting, stunting, mostly in children. And in Africa, I think currently we are about 1 in every 5 children is either wasted or stunted. So that means at the earlier stages of life, between 6 months to 59 months, they did not get enough healthy diets that could help them then to grow to a healthy being or well-nourished child. When you talk about micronutrient deficiencies, which is another type of malnutrition, that is very common in most, even you say it spreads across all income groups even, and most of the women in reproductive age, girls at the teenage level, you find them, they have maybe iron deficiency, zinc deficiency, iodine, even vitamin A. So that's cuts across. And then we have the one for overnutrition, because there's obesity, there's overweight. So that may affect mostly what people would call a middle class, or someone who consumes maybe something like a fast food. You're consuming foods that are not helping the body in nutritionally. Yeah, and then things like that, related non-communicable diseases, all those are as a result of overnutrition. Okay. Yeah, so there's all this prevalence. I think in sub-Saharan Africa, what you realize, even when you see organizations like GAIN having a role to play in this space, it's because there's been an established gap. So in some countries, it could range to even as high as 30%, depending on if an area maybe is arid and semi-arid, is a conflict-torn area. So those ranges in several African countries. Okay. And it's their situation, even when we put other challenges of climate and conflict, it's worse,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I think what you're speaking about is called the double burden of nutrition in sub-Saharan Africa.
Triple, actually,
So it's not triple. Where you have undernutrition.
Yeah, there's micronutrient deficiency and the over now.
Okay. And so one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that it seeks to achieve, or it seeks to create policies on and push across continents, is zero hunger by 2030.
Yeah.
So would you say we are on the right path? And if not, where are the shortfalls? And maybe if you're on the right path in some sectors, maybe you could highlight them or say where we are falling behind. And do you think zero hunger is still achievable by 2030?
Well, just recently I heard someone say, when Kibaki, I think it was during Kibaki era when people became more verbal about this 2030 SDG. And it sounded like a far-fetched dream, like it was too far to get to 2030. Here we are. 5 years too. We've not achieved, not close to. I think it was Again report. Sorry, I won't mention the source, but I saw I think 1 in 5 individuals in Africa are undernourished currently, at least as it is. So that immediately tells you we are not close. We are not close to meeting the SDG. And even though there have been progress, for example, in Kenya, the statistics I was looking at is compares 2014 to 2022. So there's been progress, especially when you look at the children stunting, children wastage. There's been some slow progress, but then we are still not yet there to say it doesn't exist, or at least it's below double digits level, for example, especially for stunting, which is a very huge gap that we have currently in Kenya. So we are not there yet. There is still opportunity to do more, especially with interventions from all players, because it's a whole food system issue. You can't focus on one aspect of the private sector. You can't focus on just supporting the government on policy. I think it's a whole food system issue that requires several actors to support, to get close. But to be achievable, I don't think we can say we are right on track to achieve it by 2030. It's too near. And something like nutrition that you track over years, because I will not consume a healthy diet today and the impact of that then shows in a few years. That's why even if it's a study, it will take a while for that understarted or wasted child to move from wherever they are and they get a good diet and they move to a healthy child.
Okay, so we're in agreement that we may need more time for us to be able to achieve zero hunger as an SDG. And that 2030 is still quite close. And there are so many gaps to be filled in the meantime.
More time, more action.
And so now that we have highlighted the problem, it is also important that we spotlight the solutions.
True.
So what opportunities are you seeing? Or are they available for entrepreneurs and for founders in the nutrition space?
Okay.
Is there an opportunity to make money, have businesses that are centered on creating solutions in that?
Yeah. Thank you. I like that question because it's a space I work in. I have worked with SMEs for quite a while, starting with agri-focused SMEs, but now coming to the space of nutrition, which is more niche-focused in the agri space. So there are opportunities, yes, several opportunities. And actually, a key statistic that guides our objective of working with SMEs, close to 80% of the food that is consumed in Africa is delivered by SMEs, or is produced, supplied, brought to the market by SMEs. So really, it's not a segment that you can ignore when you're saying you want to improve the food systems in Africa or you want to get people to healthier diets. So working with SMEs is one major win that any player would want to, who is keen on improving the nutrition picture in Africa should look at. So what opportunities exist? One, as you say, there's always innovation. There's what people are used to doing and there's a better way of doing it. So for example, in ensuring we have snacking, for example, for school-going children, there's always a snack that children will take after school, before school. So can we ensure that we have nutrient-rich snacks? Because a child will be given a biscuit, a child will be given queen cake, a child will be given a sweet. So can we ensure that we have a good snack? Protein-rich. Maybe I've seen people even taking a sorghum-based, millet-based popcorn. That's more nutritious than one that's maize-based. You can have someone taking a snack that's peanut-based, a bean-based snack that's doesn't have to rely on another starch or potato or anything else. So there are a lot of innovations around school snacking. Most people do yogurts, but then you find it's a very sweetened yogurt that doesn't meet the nutrition requirement of a snack. So if you're feeding your child a yogurt, then is it meeting the criteria for a nutritious yogurt? So there's innovations around developing products that meet the nutritional guidelines. 2, there's innovation around systems or logistics. For example, for fresh produce, we've seen a number of SMEs that are doing cold chain to ensure produce remains fresh. Because if food is not safe, then it's not nutritious. So how do you ensure maybe a cabbage, sukuma wiki, managu leaf gets to the market safe for the consumer, even back to the production? How do you get it from the farmer all the way to the market in a safe condition? So around cold chain logistics, the innovations even around spreading information, a platform like yours. We have digital platforms that tell consumers about healthy eating. So like a word that people in nutrition will know is fortification. But then a consumer, when I go to the market and to a supermarket and I see a fortified flour, what does that mean to me? Should I prioritize that to normal unga? Should I take that as opposed to taking my maize to a portion meal? So I think there's a lot that also can be done in consumer awareness. There's a lot that SMEs can also do in working with the communities to source local produce, to produce something like I was saying, a millet-based pop, a sorghum-based flour. All this can help even school feeding programs to become better.
Okay, and is there opportunity to leverage on technology with that? I know I have seen programs like the Tap to Eat. The school feeding program. So are there also other opportunities to leverage on technology when solving these nutrition issues?
Yeah, definitely. There's opportunities for tech, especially when you think about accessibility and affordability. So tech helps to alleviate some of that. For example, what you are using, the example of Tap to Eat, I know it's an affordable model that is partly supported by county or the national governments. So that helps people to afford a nutritious diet, because most of the time you'll get a producer or an SME that makes the meal or brings it to the market. They have incurred a higher cost than an unnutritious product, so they will charge a higher cost. So then when you add another cost of taking that product to the consumer, then it becomes unachievable for them. So affordability, tech helps in affordability, which is still an opportunity where most business entrepreneurs, they can still leverage on. And 2, tech also helps on access to enable that it can get to where it's most needed. So I would agree there are several opportunities still for tech. And then also tech when you're talking about the production systems, like I was talking about fortification, biofortification, are the opportunities to fortify further, even things that we are normally used to. Recently, I heard about fortified mandazi. You know, mandazi in kawaida. Just take a mandazi and it's just sweet. There's sugar, there's oil. Most of the time, not something I would say could meet a nutritional guideline, maybe by the Ministry of Health or the World Health Organization. But then if you have a fortified mandazi, that means it's been added some minerals, vitamins that are needed for that child who is snacking, that adult who is snacking. So there's always opportunity to innovate around even the product processing.
And so now, speaking of opportunity, I think if you look at the funding ecosystem, and I know you're currently working for an investor, most of the loudest conversations are around fintech, climate funding, green energy, value addition in agriculture, health, tech. But we haven't had conversation on nutrition funding being so loud. And so how is that funding ecosystem looking like? Who are other market players? And are you seeing more investors coming in or more funds coming in that seek to fund this space, this nutrition space, or fund policies or fund businesses that are focused on creating solutions around the food system? How does the funding space look like? And I think when you're talking about these, because most funds, of course, are focused on financially viable businesses that are high impact.
Yeah.
So what is the financial viability of these businesses that are in this ecosystem?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Linda. I think it's, as you put it, it's not a space where you'll hear, it's not a theme that you'll hear most investors talk about.
I haven't heard of a nutrition conference anywhere.
Yeah, you'll hear most of them will be agri-focused. They'll be put in a bracket of agri, and then you'll hear those that are agri-food or food systems focused. Really, you hear about nutrition, but that's what we are hoping to change. Actually, the fund I work for, the Nutritious Foods Financing Facility, N3F, is a proof of concept. And why it's a proof of concept is because we haven't found in Africa, especially a nutrition-focused impact fund. So there are impact funds focused on agri, as I said, the impact funds focused on climate, impact funds focused on health. But then one that's purely on nutrition and nutritious foods, there isn't one. And what we hope to achieve with N3F is then to engage other investors or create this awareness that actually nutrition is an investable theme. You don't have to lump it under agri and say I'm funding all agricultural produce. Yes, there's all agricultural produce, but which is that produce that really goes to human healthier diets? So that's the objective, is to make a proof of concept, to create knowledge, create tools and metrics that even other investors can leverage on. So that when you say I'm looking at an investment through a nutrition theme, what metrics am I looking at? Other investors have created their metrics for environmental. I want to see how much carbon you're sequestering from the environment. I want to see this. So we want to tell them, if you are looking at a dairy company, this is what you look at for if they are a nutritious food company. If you want to invest in a flour processing company, this is how you tell. If you want to invest in a company that does a portfolio of products, this is how you know which one is nutritious. So we are coming to the market to hopefully change the narrative. There isn't a lot of financing currently that goes directly to nutrition. I think globally, less than about 1% of all health funding goes directly to nutrition. So there's a lot that goes to the preventive health aspects. You go to the farmer, to the testing labs and all those. There's a lot that goes to the curative, the medicine and everything, but then not a lot that goes now to the nutrition aspects, the consumption. And what we are seeing right now, it's too early. Our fund launched last year. It's too early to say there's been a change since at least N3F started, but I know there are several players. There are other people who are in the space who are doing maybe something similar to what we do. For example, offering technical assistance to SMEs in the nutrition space, because a lot of work is needed in product safety, a lot of work is needed in product development, a lot of work is needed even to get the food to the market, creating consumer awareness, how do you label, how do you market a nutritious product. So there's a lot of players who are doing the technical assistance. There's a lot who are doing grants, especially for smaller SMEs, to get them to get the product to the market. And then now, as at the commercial, I would say at the commercial stage, we are looking at even financial return-driven investors. Because even though the fund was started from concessional, donor and development world funding, we would want to attract other private commercial investors who are looking at a financial return. So we want to prove to them that nutrition is actually investable. You can get SMEs that have a financial return, but also have a very huge nutrition impact aligned with several other impact metrics, because you are looking at maybe gender, you're looking at environment, you're looking at engagements of smallholder farmers. All these you can get within an SME that does nutritious foods. So it's to tell an investor you don't have to just look at this metric, there's also a nutrition impact that you're missing out on in your portfolio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that highlight and very insightful. And I hope that more funds can focus on this opportunity.
Yeah, true.
There's high impact and it is still financially viable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so since you've worked with an investor, do you have a success story of maybe a business that you guys have worked with?
Yeah.
And how has that business impacted the community? Through your funding, definitely.
Yeah. So I would say too early to talk about success stories. We actually just released our first impact report.
Okay.
And we have within July, last month. So we do have a number of baseline impact, because this is in the initial year of investment, and therefore we're looking at how many households is this SME impacting at their current level, even before we put the impact of our funding, what that has done to the SME. So we do have good SMEs that we've already invested in, including some in Kenya. We have an SME in Zambia. We have SMEs in Rwanda and Senegal. So, for example, in Kenya, I can talk about one fish business. They do fish distribution from Homa Bay to Nairobi. And they work with Mama Samakis to get the fish to a lower income consumer. That's the target of the fund, actually. If you're serving local consumers, then a bigger percentage of your market has to be lower income consumers, so that, because this is where then the nutritious food is most needed at. So Camino Ruiz, they work with women from still in Homa Bay and also in Nairobi to get the fish supplied to local consumers. They also supply a certain percentage through supermarkets. You find them in Naivas, maybe in Carrefour. They are branded as Global Tilapia Fish. So I would say that's an example of a good business that is using even an innovative model to get their fish consumed even at low income households. Because not all fish that you see at Carrefour, you see the standard size of a fish. A tilapia that is worth maybe 800 or 600. But then there's a smaller tilapia fish that didn't get to Carrefour. There's the maybe a scratch fish that wasn't accepted to be put at the supermarket shelf. But then it's still a safe and nutritious food that then gets to a low-income consumer in Nairobi, within Nairobi, in Homa Bay, in Bita. So that's, I would say, one of the SMEs that we're working with. A good story to track. We'll be able to still monitor what is the impact of our funding after the first year of investment, and what has been the story that can be shared out there. But then with the initial consumer survey baseline that we do, where we track the impact at the household level, we can already tell this business is serving lower income consumers. Their product is affordable in the market compared to the rest. I think for the 5 investees that we had in the first year, their products were like 72% more affordable than their substitutes in the market. And then you also look at what is the income level of a household that this SME is serving, and you can tell already they are reaching someone who is not able to afford a higher priced commodity in the market.
Yeah, well, I like the concept that you've touched on, especially affordability, because I think that is what is the biggest challenges for most African homes.
Yeah, true.
Yet nutrition is really a survival. I would say a survival. Is it a survival? Would I call it a skill, or it's just about survival? Definitely.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Because it also boils down to health. If you're not eating well, if your meal is not nutrition enough, then you'll have health issues. And health is another whole.
Like it's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
And I think you cannot separate nutrition and the issues of poverty. Because poverty then now brings nutrition issues. Yeah. And so as we close on this first part of this series, there's something you mentioned about how it is not possible for one particular program or one particular player to solve all the nutrition issues, or for us to achieve zero hunger as an SDG, different players have to come in and work together.
Yeah.
And so how are you seeing local governments, donors, and the private sector coming in to help alleviate malnutrition issues?
Yeah. So maybe I'll start first with the local governments because they create really what we call the business environment for other players, or the environment for other players to work in. So for the governments, mainly I would talk about commitment. Commitment from action, commitment from dedicated action for all players in the government, be it local, county, national government. Because there's a lot that goes into creating, I think, plans, strategic plans, action plans that should be implemented within specific number of years within which a government is serving. But then I don't know how much of that is actually achieved.
Okay.
Very little is done to tell us after we've created these action plans, sometimes even with the support of what you'll say the donor funding, with support of technical assistance from people like Kane. But then the tracking to ensure that people are actually achieving those action plans, or what is put down as maybe a dashboard to track these things, we don't get to see those. So sometimes many years go by and you're like, we're still at the same place where we started when we were developing this action plan. So I know a lot of support has been done to help governments develop trackers and dashboards to tell them, for example, if it's fortification, where are we with maize fortification in Kenya? Where are we with wheat fortification? It's also salt iodized that gets to the market. Who is following up on that to ensure there's mandatory meeting of the criteria? It's well fortified, it's fully fortified, and it gets to the market in the right condition. Yeah. So a lot of support can still be done to the government to help compliance, to help them track even these action plans that are developed and funded in most instances. And then two, there's, of course, the funding. Let me talk the SMEs first before the funding. There's what space the SMEs play. As I said, they are key player with the food system, and SMEs will enable us produce nutritious foods. SMEs will enable us get the food to the consumer. SMEs will process for some that need processing, and therefore there's a lot of work also the SMEs need to do to get a nutritious product to the market. And as they get the nutritious product, of course, they need support. They need support in technical assistance from either local or beyond local players. They need support in financing. So aligned financing that then fits the nutrition space, because this is an SME that is facing a higher regulatory compliance requirement. It's not the same as someone who is doing maybe a different product that they don't have to fortify. One, they don't have to go to KEBS to get satisfied. One, they don't have to go to a Ministry of Health to get the nutritional facts verified. So they need more support, I would say, more than any other player in the market who is maybe supplying any other food product. And then finally, for the investors, it's really to your focus on the impact. What we are saying is nutrition doesn't have to be your core impact, but then you can also add nutrition to your impact thesis. We are not saying you just remove renewable energy from your portfolio and look at just nutrition, but then we are seeing even investments that have very huge environmental impact, they also have a nutrition impact. So how can you better target these investments so that it's a win-win. You're winning on both environment and nutrition. You're winning on both women empowerment and nutrition. You're winning on any other economic, socioeconomic impact metric, and also on nutrition, because it's really intertwined, and sometimes it's really aligning your portfolio. So there's that, and of course funding that is concessional enough to support, especially the early stage enterprises, funding that is aligned to the growth trajectories of these SMEs and also the challenges that they face.
Okay. Okay. So I think we are in agreement that tracking of nutrition as an impact metric, because I know there's a lot of funding that is focused on agri-processors.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look at their impact reports, nutrition is not a metric. Yet they are already funding nutrition in a way. It's just that they're not measuring it.
Yeah, true.
And I think data will drive funds to nutrition.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Polly, for your insightful thoughts on nutrition in part 1 of this series. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. In part 2, we will delve into issues and challenges affecting nutrition around climate change, wars, economic shocks. And we'll also look at the position of young women or position of women and youth in changing the food systems across Africa. I'm Linda Keraithe. See you in part 2.